All
All
right.
right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Sorry for the delays there. Had a few things going wrong, but I think we've got it all straight now. At least most of it anyway. Zath, how you doing, buddy? You still there?
Yeah. I'm fine. Fine. Just
All right, good, good, good. I
when
know.
you're
It's
taking apart the engine while you're trying
I
trying
know,
to
I
run a
know.
race, it's kind of fun.
When you're trying to run the race and repair the engine at the same time, it's a little challenging. Talk to me about the '07 lineup, Zath.
Well, '07 is bringing dual Ohio's, dual Moskvas. John the Ruthless is now in a Des Moines, and we have two Marceaus, a Ragnar, and this time Fries is in a Daring.
I
Interesting
like the
hearing.
daring pick.
Well, yeah, considering we just heard Boggsy and Oskans talking about the importance of Z52 possibility on this map, and they didn't pick it.
And yet neither team has picked it as
Mhm.
KSC's lineup. They're running with a Montana, a Kremlin, double Des Moines, a Moskva of their own. Also choosing 4 destroyers on this map, Zap. Gearing, Daring, and Marceau. So a little extra daring action on the KSC side, a little extra Marceau action on the '07 side.
You know what I just found interesting is KSC choosing not to bring a Ragnar. I think we saw a little bit of a demonstration of its power in the last battle, but we'll have to see if they can make this work the way it is. I mean, it's just one ship, of course.
Indeed. All right. Well, let's see. Both teams fairly even on health pool. So, with both teams taking 4 destroyers, you wouldn't expect there to be a large disparate there, and there isn't. So, the Marceau on the A flank, that's going to be, let's
Chicken
have a check.
Lord.
That's Serpent Lord. That's Serpent Lord. He looks like he's going to be able to bag A more or less uncontested. '07 looks as if they're double Marceaus. That's Pieces and Triarch. They're going to sneak into C well ahead of Hatake's Daring. Hatake in a Daring this game, Zap. He was our
Mm.
intrepid Des Moines player last game who
Hmm.
coughed up a whole bunch of his HP.
Yeah.
And the B cap seems to be a little bit of a dance right now.
Well, I mean, I I'm not surprised that KSC is not interested in BCAP. I mean, I'm sure that they're concerned about the Ragnar's radar. They don't have the Z52 hydro capability of completely locking down a cap, so I think it makes sense that they're looking at either flank. It's interesting to see how far they're going to A, though.
Eagle Lance getting detected, popping his radar, picking up Aussie Zeus, throwing a
Hmm.
few salvos out, but those salvos keep him lit now for a whole non-zero amount of the KSC team to shoot at him. But right now, only Dastard's Kremlin taking the opportunity. GM Schwartz's Des Moines down here at the bottom of A trying to sneak into that section of the cap, more or less unmolested along the way.
Yeah, it's interesting how '07 managed to grab C cap, and then here's Hitaki Hiyoshi's daring now. It's interesting he's just kind of gonna go into it. Normally, we see players like to back into a cap, but instead he's just sitting bow in as
I,
they pick as
I,
'07 picks up B.
I guess I'm also a little surprised to see '07 bail off this cap quite so quickly. Now we are seeing Triarch's torpedoes coming into the general vicinity that they expect Hatake to be in, but by the time those torpedoes arrive, Hatake should have already basically bagged the cap and be able to kind of reverse out and avoid those torpedoes handily. So
Well,
despite the early cap advantage, they know more or less where he is. They're taking pot shots. They did get a blind reset there on Hatake, but those torpedoes from Triarch are, well, they're off target. They're going to miss no matter what Hatake does. He doesn't have to go anywhere. They are
yeah.
starting to clip him now, even though they're blind shots.
Well, they're picking out some good guesses there. He does. It does look like he was detected at one point, um, and now he's smoking up. So that makes sense. He can try to get. He knows where the Mosfa radar is, so that'll give him a little bit of flexibility now.
Indeed, as one of the Marceaus, that's Triarch over in the 10 line, just vomiting shells in there, knowing Hatake has to be in that general vicinity, trying to get the blind resets.
Well, that's what we call French radar.
Indeed, it works, doesn't it? It's
Yeah.
effective.
And you can see both Marceaus now just trying to hunt for him. And ooh, Yoshi is now on a sticky fire too. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, he had one on the bow a moment ago. He's still there. Just now has gone out. Sneaking. He's got to sneak out of the smoke now. Got to make their lives a little more difficult about where they might cap. But he's got at least one torpedo something coming in from the north. He's going to have to deal with.
Good thing he's got Hydro, huh?
His hydro's up, but he's gonna have to leave the cap to avoid this torpedo salvo.
Mm-hmm.
as KSC does move out to an early lead of about 20 points, but it's going to grow. It's going to shrink a little bit. Oh 07 is going to get a few ticks of C as Pieces of Pizza continues to push down the 7-8 line over here, kind of looking for Hatake. KSC has very much made this their map about the A cap, right? I mean,
Yes.
look how many ships, look how much force they have at A. They're pushing Schwartz's Des Moines through the cap now as Dastard goes all the way to the 1 line to back up man with an RX-7. Airing into Marceau, that's Serpent Lord and Aussie Zeus trying to maybe make a little bit of inroads here at B.
Good. Well, let's see what happens as I do like that Schwartz is moving up with that Des Moines. Oh wait, I just mentioned that, and look at how he's turning a little bit. Nope. Okay, now he's going back up. All right. It looked like he was originally going to go and kind of stick his face in at the middle spot.
He's got John the Ruthless's
Mm-hmm.
broadside here, trying to put some of that American piercing into John's side. Does land at least one decent-ish salvo as John continuing to be lit here. Schwartz had his radar chugging as he come up the 3 line there. Go ahead.
Serpent Lord, look at him now. He's gonna bet the farm on getting into B again. He's in there for
Indeed.
now.
A bold play is Elgar's radar, Moscow radar from the north is absolutely keeping him lit in there. And see Aussie Zeus as well, so that's the Ragnar, that's Eagle's Ragnar taking long shots on Aussie as
Hmm.
Marceau and Daring try to lob shells in on Serpent Lord and get the resets.
Well, the radar is over now for the Moskva, so that's gonna allow Serpent to hopefully dodge a lot of this blind fire as Hitaki Hiyoshi is right back to the original spot he was before.
Is indeed 7 minutes gone. We've got a tie game here now as KSC moves out to their first lead of the match. Slowly ticking up the A cap as both B and C are at the moment are well, C's changing hands and B has just completed changing hands.
Yep, Hiyoshi just took another big hit. Detected now on Moskva radar. Ace Baby catching him.
Once again, Zath, it feels a little bit like KSC has coughed up too much health to get this board position. I mean, maybe I'm
Yeah.
wrong. I've got a little bit of sense of that. Now, admittedly, overall the teams are trading fairly evenly.
Mhm.
So I don't know.
I just
They seem to have Go ahead.
usually when you've got a side that's the push side, then the other side has to be the kite side, which means all you're trying to do is slow the enemy's advance. You're not trying to hold them in place or stop them or prevent them from getting a cap. And so I feel like Atake is just spending way too much time in that one spot. It'd be different if he moved around to maybe the other island at sea to try to make something else happen, but it just felt like he's like,
Well,
I'm just going to keep trying, and eventually I'm going to win.
yes and no. I think he had the right of it until this team had a lead, which they do now. They have a 50-point lead, and it's hanging right there for the moment as Serpent Lord and Aussie try to figure out how to deal with Eagle Lance here in the B cap.
Look
But
at
if Os Go ahead.
look over at A. Look at A.
Ooh, Dastard.
Look at Dasher just
Oh,
smash in John the
Dastard.
Ruthless's face right
What a
there.
smash. Just punching him in the nose. Not a care in the world as now
Oh,
Schwartz's
there it goes.
position. Yep. Des Moines over there allows KSC to bag their first kill. KSC pinning the Des Moines in position and taking him out. Big kill.
Beautiful execution for KSC there. And that's what they didn't do last game. They didn't completely secure their flank. Now they can move around and wheel into B.
They absolutely have, Zap. This is going to become an east-west fight in very short order now as KSC is going to push forces around the top end of the A cap over on the 3-4 line.
Takehiyoshi
It looks
now
as if Go ahead.
is smoking up. Looks like he's going to smoke up IM Co-op's Moskva position so that he can get into a better kite away angling, which I do like.
Halfway mark of the game almost here. KSC working about 120-point lead that is slowly shrinking. 07 does hold a cap advantage, but for the moment, KSC leads on ships.
Look at Floops's Death Snail in here. Man with an RX-7 being allowed to move up and shoot Marin's Ohio for free. That's going to make Marin feel a little less comfortable about slowing down and trying to stem the tide of KSC's advance.
Indeed, Marin bleeding health right now, but at the same time, one of the things you and I have noted several times about battleship players at this level of play, Zath,
Hmm.
they well understand the punishment that those ships can take when they're held at range, when they're allowed to maneuver. You take a survivability build battleship, it takes a lot of damage to get a battleship off the board if it's conned very well.
Yes. Dastard now seems to be the focus fire target for Marin and Eagle Lance.
Does indeed. Lots of fire, lots of HE shells, I should say, going in on Dastard's Kremlin, both from the Ohio and from Eagle Lance. Dastard has performed his role on this flank. It looks like he's going to try and get turned around here. Maybe try to retreat and pull that shit back to some cover.
Right. I think that's a smart
Expecting,
play.
yeah, I keep expecting KSC to make a push at B, Zap, but so far I'm not seeing it. They've got Serpent Lord close by. They got Schwartz bow into the cap, ready to punch anything that they spot on radar. But so far, both Aussie Zeus and Serpent Lord have declined to go into that cap circle.
Well, for one, I think that they know that Elgar's probably in that position north of B,
Mhm.
right, that island. So they know that as soon as they go into B, they're going to trip a radar. So I think they're trying to get themselves in a position where both Des Moines can back them up when they go in. The radar's tripped, but the Des Moines can provide covering fire. What they probably do not know is that Elgar has flipped to the other side of the island. In other words, those Des Moines can't shoot him.
I'm not sure when the last time they spotted Elgar was. It's one of the disadvantages of spectator mode is that we don't get the last spotted marks on the mini map.
Right.
Because honestly, if you're looking at a live map, there's no way to know that. There we go. Serpent Lord and Aussie Zeus now pushing into B. No, just Aussie. There's the expected
Yep.
radar from Elgar's Moskva. That's going to drive them away a little bit. But really, Triarch and Elgar don't really have shots. Really, only Eagle and Marin that have shots. And Eagle took a torpedo zap.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's a little bit of shells coming in from Triarch's Marceau. He's able to arc over the island. Oh, there goes the Moskva.
Oh, yeah. Co-op was getting a little low back there and unable to keep him on the board. That flips the lead. '07 picks up their first kill. They now have about an 80-ish point lead, growing on the strength of their cap advantage. KSC still trying to break into the B cap here.
I'm curious. Last time we saw that Moskva co-op was facing southward. He turned around fully, bow tank north, and ouch! At long range, that
Yeah.
Ohio will penetrate the bow, the upper belt of the bow pretty easily.
Yeah, it feels like maybe a bit of a positional error there. Like maybe the retreating position would have made more sense.
Hmm.
But what's done is done as KSC, 100 points down with 7 minutes to play, is about halfway done capping B here. As Eagle Lance has got to be feeling the pressure here. He's starting to get a little low.
I'm surprised that the two Des Moines are taking so long to make themselves known. Here comes Ohio Shells. Man with the
Oh,
RX-7 just gets splattered.
I think he just answers your own question, Zap.
Well, what I'm getting at is once they get spotted, they have to know the battleships are looking right at them.
Oh,
So
yeah. Like,
sitting
Marin
still,
has no shot, but Peyton certainly does.
right? So sitting still, reversing those kind of games, it's just not going to work against somebody like Peyton the Rockhead, or who just he can nail things from long range. And Serpent Lord is probably going down.
Serpent, yeah, well, he's in a lot of trouble here. He pushed up and got in a bit of a gunfight with the Ragnar, and they're just vomiting shells on him. They know he's low. They know he can't heal. They know he has no smoke. Marceau is a great ship, but
Oof!
once she gets low, you've got to kill secure. They do get Eagle Lance. They've got to
Wow!
keep Serpent Lord on the board here. That changes the lead. Serpent Lord still spotted on 400 HP, and
Here he
there's the shells
goes.
from Elgar. Destroyer trade as KSC 60 points behind and still closing.
Hmm. Now in that kind of engagement, I gotta say, I feel like KSC, uh, you know, benefits the most from that trade. What do you think?
They do simply because getting the Ragnar off the board is going to make their lives easier trying to hold B, in my opinion, right? I mean,
Hmm.
they know there's still 3 surviving destroyers. They're not entirely positive where they are. They know where Pieces is, right? They saw Pieces a minute ago during that gunfight. They might not
Right.
know where Price is.
Right.
And so there's double Des Moines lurking to keep them off of that cap. but they're going to need Aussie's guns, I think, to help push Price off once he steps onto the cap and starts contesting it. Because '07 right now clinging to a 30-point lead that's continuing to shrink as there's only 5 minutes left in the game.
That's right. Now, as you mentioned that, look at Hatake Hiyoshi being chased down by Treyarch in the Marceau.
Yep, that's
And
a and they know Haitake is low. They know he doesn't have a ton of support down here. It's
yeah.
just the Montana. And they also know a smart player knows how slow Daring is, right? Daring doesn't have a speed boost. She's not innately all that fast for a destroyer. A Frenchie can absolutely run her down very quickly.
Well, and then you've got Ace Baby's Moskva backing up too. I feel like this is just a little bit close, but he might actually get out of range once that smoke
I'm a,
expires.
I'm a little shocked they've let Frice get this far along with the cap. '07 is going to pick up B,
Oh
where they go a
wow.
26-point lead for '07 as they're going to start to slowly widen that gap a bit.
Take
I'm really
detected.
shocked at that, Saf.
Take detected. Well, my guess is that the KSC guys were like, "Hey, we can't lose anybody. Be careful, no kill, that sort of thing."
KSC is in the danger zone, Zath. '07 over 900 points.
Hmm.
KSC cannot afford to lose a ship or their game might be over. They're moving both Des Moines up now into this little Daring smoke patch. Trying to cover them a little bit here.
Hmm.
Probably wishing they had Floops' gearing smoke down here instead, but they're making do with what they've got. They've got
Well,
to get onto B. They just did, but it might not be enough.
yeah.
'07 firmly in control of C.
At this point, KSC needs a kill in addition to
Yes, they
getting this
do.
cap.
They need a kill, and they need it very, very quickly. Probably in the next 30 to 40 seconds, KSC needs to kill a ship, and I have a hard time imagining a world where '07 is going to give them that chance.
Now, 07's been very good at focus fire. We saw that last game. We saw that this game. Aussie Zeus now going into B. The question's going to become who's the '07 focus target? Because I'm seeing shells
I
coming on
mean,
Aussie, shells coming on a man with RX-7. Looks like RX-7 might
this
be the focus.
KSC has to play a perfect game. Both these Des Moines skirting the torpedoes, they're clear. But
Mm-hmm.
again, we're seconds from an '07 win here. 996 to 940.
999. Nope,
Nah, it's going to
98.
happen.
There it
It's going to
is.
happen. Yep. KSC waited just a little too long, Zaf. Just a little too long. Needing an extra kill. Couldn't quite get it. And they dropped game 2 as well. A much tighter game though, right?
Oh,
Trading punches with
absolutely.
these guys all the way.
Absolutely, yeah. Great work by both teams.
Really, really strong destroyer plays, Zaf.
Mhm.
Give me your overall before we kick it back to the studio. Give me your overall quick impression of that one.
Uh, Overly cautious on KSC side, and I think that's what hurt them. They were, uh, they didn't want to leave C that early. That cost them in hit points, and then
Hmm.
at A, it felt like they didn't want to push that early, and I think that cost them in terms of board positioning uh, early on into the mid game.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I think the '07, I'm sorry, I think the KSC push at A was really well done, really well timed. I like the timing they took to get Dastard into position to punch out the Des Moines to make the wheel. I think where they took too long to maneuver, make a decision maybe, is the Des Moines position coming from A into the middle of the board, right? They just
Right.
felt like those Des Moines just sat there too long. All right, well, let's kick it back to the studio. '07 on a 2-0 lead. Let's see what Boggsy and the Scons have to say.
Thank you, C Raptor and Zath. That was again a very very close game coming down to the wire there, but '07 held KSC off out of that B cap long
Hmm.
enough to say you got to kill one of us, and you can't. That's sort of
Yeah.
what it.
Yep.
Yep.
That's sort of how the cookie crumbled.
Well, great job on the cast, folks.
Thanks.
All
Yeah,
right.
Thanks, boys.
there's a lot of action in that one. It was very interesting watching Ataki Hiyoshi sort of be tickled constantly by blind fire in the C cap. '07 doing a very, very good job of keeping that cap reset by constantly putting fire onto Yoshi, and that kept him from being able to actually flip the C cap where '07 had committed 2 destroyers. It was very interesting to see also how much KSC committed to the A cap. And it actually worked out extraordinarily well as we saw that very exciting replay of Dastard's Kremlin literally just walking up to John the Ruthless's Des Moines and saying, "Catch! Here's a 457 millimeter shell for you." while GM Schwartz was waiting off on the side to make sure that that DM could not get a ram off on the Kremlin and take the trade.
Yeah, the commit to A definitely worked out for KSC. I'm gonna be honest. I'm a little surprised that they were able to catch John sitting there behind the island, but I guess there was just a point where he realized, I did my job. I've caused them as much time as I'm going to be able to do, and he made his squeeze play. Over at Charlie, we got to see as Hitake Yoshi was in Charlie just getting wrecked over and over again. He was trying to get Charlie, bleeding health badly, bleeding health, getting shot, taking things. I mean, he lived, he took a lot of potential damage. He didn't go down, but he traded so much health for something on a cap that they didn't have superior numbers on. If we look,
Right.
the A side is where KSC put their assets. They didn't put them on Charlie, and yet they spent so much time trying to hold Charlie while spending almost no time trying to hold Bravo. I have to echo Raptor. I think he was sitting there going, almost all of this game, KSC's been just kind of ignoring Bravo. So what's the holdup? Why aren't they trying to make plays here?
Yeah, it was very strange. KSC seemed to be allergic to the B cap, which was odd. They spent so much. Aha! Here comes our replay. Okay, so KSC, chose not really to contest the B cap early on, which is a fine choice. You let them take it. You wait for those destroyers to, feasibly move on and attempt to apply pressure elsewhere. You take it back. That's not so difficult. It was interesting to me, though, to see that they really did not attempt to put pressure on the B cap, nor did they put a cruiser like a Moskva or a Stalingrad um, at that sort of, I want to call it the barrier island right around G6. Obviously, you can see that '07 chose to put a Moskva in that very, very strong position as it allows you to put that 12 km radar over the top of that island and illuminate the entire B cap. So I was actually at first, I was concerned that '07 just completely gave up the A cap, not applying even one of their 4 destroyers to the A cap. And then even more, and you can see here, it's coming up there. That's when Dastard walked up, smacked the Des Moines in the face, but they never translated that. KSC never really managed to translate that overwhelming victory at A into anything to support B. And this is where the 2 Des Moines of KSC sort of got stuck there in the mouth of that island channel, not really able to do anything because there's no radar to illuminate the destroyers on the other side of B cap, which ended up, I would say, costing them the match.
See, this right here is why the front line is so important. I will always preach have as many or more destroyers than the enemy team, if only so that you have a front line and you feel like you can throw your health around, play a little risky if you have to. But after they took A cap, where did the gearing go for KSC? All the way up to the B line. He scattered. There were 2 destroyers in the mid, but only one of them had a smoke, and it was a daring. That's a small smoke. That's not going to hide 2 Des Moines. The other daring of Yoshi was shoved all the way down to H, worried about a breach trying to contain something. So we get to see as '07 claims Charlie, claims Bravo, and has not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 destroyers sitting in the mid area saying, I don't care what DD you bring to me, I will kill you. And KSC just sitting back going, well, you're right. So they had so much space, but they didn't have a way in. And they had to sit back because they're going to respect '07. They're going to respect the capabilities of the enemy team. And it just had them sitting on their hands for minute after minute after minute.
Yep. I noticed this time the KSC being a bit more aggressive than I feel like they were on the last one.
Yes.
And actually making, they put a Kremlin up the 1 line up to the A line. Like that's something you don't see very often, but did work out. That collected them a ship. However, conversely, on the other side, their Moskva seemed to go down kind of for no reason. I don't quite know why their kiting Moskva was allowed to die. Had he been able to join in that fight there at the very end, his 12-kilometer radar, high velocity ballistics, and good AP at range might have helped them actually secure that kill that they absolutely needed.
It did feel strange that they spent not only the majority of their DD's health on the Charlie flank, but the majority of their Moskva's health on the Charlie flank when they never had the assets to win it. Not
Right.
once were they in a position where they could take it and hold ground. It was simply well, maybe we can sneak this and just kind of like skirt the next 20 seconds with it or skirt the next minute with it. And also, I do want to point out the daring got wrecked. the Moskva got wrecked, and yet we had the Montana of Shadow Wolf again playing back really at a distance. That happened in the first game, and it took them a few minutes to get off the edges of the map to get in there to start putting shells into faces and making plays. And similarly, we had the Montana behind the Moskva, not pulling fire off of it, not trying to get engaged and maybe kind of save it. Instead, they had a holding action on a flank that they just weren't able to do anything with. And I just couldn't agree with that.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting choice. It ended up not working out for them in the end. They were just not really able to translate what I would say is generally good map positioning into a kill, and that's unfortunately what they needed to get. So our next map is going to be Trap. Trap is a
Yes.
relatively a new map to the rotation, I believe. And as we were talking earlier, this one is actually KSC's choice. Trap is, and we'll be seeing how the destroyer spread works this time. This map, uh, I noticed last time specifically by watching the Brazilian team Star,
Mm.
this map can be played extraordinarily well with long range torpedoes, whether they are the 20s from the Shima, which people like to laugh at sometimes, but on a map with huge open water expanses, they can be extremely effective, as well as the Gearing's 16.5 kilometer torpedoes. There are really good lines to be able to just drop torpedoes into this map and hit stuff that has no idea you're torpedoing them. Also, the space between the caps across the diagonal of the field means that destroyers are invaluable. So we'll have to see what they bring. We'll see if there's a smoke team. There's no Nevsky, no Venezia to park around the A cap and trade. So we'll have to see exactly whether. Well, we'll see if '07 continues to bring a Ragnar, and maybe they just decide to translate the Nevsky into a Ragnar instead.
Well, here's what I want to know. So in the first map, we saw '07 out trading KSC in multiple positions across the map. They were able to trade shells, trade health, take advantages, long game, which is something '07 is well known for doing. In fact, '07 is so well known for doing it, they will often give away a points lead of 100 to 200 points so that they can get into positions to trade, so that they then start to force in, get a kill, drive people out, claim caps, win the map, which we got to see in the second game. So in the first one, KSC was out traded. In the second, they did much better. They got a lot of damage on their front line, and their front line was spread out. But blow for blow, kill for kill, spot for spot, they were trading well. When we're going into Trap, my question, and I'll throw this to you, Bogsy, do you think that KSC, instead of going for the trading game, which we saw them be able to step up and become equal at, will instead try to go for an outright aggression game? We saw that work for them in the last map with the Kremlin, with the Des Moines, the pincering, the hitting, the killing. Are they going to try to find a way to just aggressively barge into like the A cap or something and translate that to a win?
They very well might. Now, we've seen a lot of Marceaus so far in this series, this best of 5 series between '07 and KSC. Lots of Marceaus, especially '07 liking those Marceaus. So the question then has to become, how do you, if you are without something like a Venezia or a Nevsky, which are tried and true destroyer killers, big heavy broadsides of SAP and HE, 12-kilometer radar coming in from the Nevsky, um, that allow you to punish those DDs when they get spotted. How do you do that? If you are a daring, which seems to be KSC's go-to destroyer, um, how do you when you spot that Marceau, how do you put damage onto it? That's the big thing. Usually a Moskva or a Stalingrad, something like that would work. DMs are a little bit more difficult as the floaty shells
Mm-hmm.
um, take a little bit more time. So I suspect they may try to be aggressive. But if '07 continues to bring multiple Marceaus, I don't know that it's actually going to be able to work. I think a Kremlin will be a great addition if they continue to bring Kremlin. They'll be ready to make a push up either our map's not in front of us here, but I guess it would be the 10 line. It would be the 10 line or the far east. Oh, it doesn't have the labels on it. Up the east, up the northeast. You could push a Kremlin
Sure.
up around there, but it is a long ways away from anything. Oftentimes, a Kremlin you'll see uh, stay a little bit more mid to push in and take out a cruiser when it gets the chance. So, if KSC is going to be aggressive, I think that it has to be around the A cap. As I recall, A cap is sort of what makes or breaks this map, as C and B are extremely difficult to actually take and hold, whereas A cap tends to be sort of the deciding factor.
And on that, game 3 is actually underway. They just dropped and we are loading in. So we are going to have to kick it out to our glorious casters of Sea Raptor and Lord Zath. Take it away, folks.